YouTube world is like, it has its bright spots and it has its like complete messes that like somehow work really well and get a lot of views and have a good following.
But then we got, our next guest like Vo up here. And he makes a pretty good, he's built a following for himself. He's good on camera, he's personable. People love watching him, got great, install videos and just basic reviews of, things that people would do to their car daily. Or your basic enthusiast would do to your car daily.
And he's like genuine. And I think that's what like really sets it apart from a lot of other channels.
Very, very relatable. Right? That's key. So,
I mean, I think he's one of the most recognizable faces in the BRZ 86 world, at least here in the United States. Since like the beginning, he's been putting out tons and tons of videos.
I remember when they first started doing videos, and we got to meet some of the employers at SEMA one year, and it was great chatting with them, and to see where he's gone from there, and then what he's built up, and now starting his own thing. We can't wait to see what he's got to offer.
I think future is bright for Kevin, and glad to have him on here today on the Apex Files podcast, brought to you by Racecomp Engineering. I'm Andrew.
I'm Larry.
And
we hope you guys enjoy.
Can't forget these two.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin. I'm Andrew. This is Larry from Racecomp Engineering and the Apex Files. So you've moved on from a previous thing, and tell us about Driven Media and get us up to speed on what you're working on these days.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Driven Media was something that I've been dreaming about for a while now, and I didn't know how I was going to do it or what exactly it was going to be at the time that I just thought it up. But I always wanted to have my own thing to do and to work on, to have that sweat equity essentially. And I've always been a creative person, whether it be photography or videography. And so that Driven Media kind of plays into that aspect of not only the car side of things, but also letting my creative side go as far as linking it to my YouTube channel and showing how, this can be more than just working on cars. This is like a passion and a whole community behind it. Essentially. So it started with just some overlays, easy stuff. And I mentioned this in a video that I recorded when I just started it and launched it. I said that jumping into the car industry, it's kind of overwhelming. You look at all these parts and you're like, oh, wow, I don't think I can afford to do any of this to my car. Well, overlays are a super easy thing to install and they're cheap. So I figured this is a great way for someone that isn't mechanically inclined to get into modifying their car. So I offered the overlays on my website and also jumped into merch for my YouTube channel as well to help support the growth of the channel.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. You mentioned community. That's like when you look at your channel and your interactions with people, like there's definitely a community there. Like we see you helping people out, people following your journey. It's really cool to see, and it's one of like the bright sides of the aftermarket car culture world is like when people are not jerks. So that's cool.
And you also started like you didn't have any prior mechanical experience before, right? Before jumping in the Subaru community.
No, absolutely not. So to give a little back history to who I am, I started out not knowing anything about cars.
So Drew, when he first started, right? Talking to talking.
All right. That's where we all start, right? That's how we all start.
Yeah, so, no, absolutely.
Exactly. So eight, I want to say 9 or 10 years ago, I was driving an Oldsmobile Alero, and a drunk driver. A drunk driver ran a stop sign, and I T-boned him, and it totaled the car. And so that was my first time looking for a new car. And
Mhm.
my older brother, was the one that got me into the whole car scene. He had a fifth gen Prelude that he modified like super ricey, but it was so cool at the time. Body kit, Duraflex body kit, baby blue
Oh,
Mako
man.
paint job.
So right
Uh,
after Fast and Furious days, huh?
yeah, so essentially
Yeah.
that was what was cool.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wow, I need to get something cool. I want to get something that I can modify. So I ended up picking up an '03 uh, Bug Eye wagon, and that's what all started this. So I started modifying that. I joined my local Iowa Subaru club, and that's
Mhm.
where I met Yo, and he
Yep.
kind of just blossomed me into the person that I am
Mhm.
now, and guided me along the way. Um,
Mhm.
but it's all self-taught, and with a lot of people, that's how it is. You don't just Most people don't go to school for this. They just pick up a wrench and they look on YouTube. It's one of our greatest
Mhm.
resources now, and they learn.
Mhm.
And I'm
Yeah.
I'm happy to be in the position that I can help people learn now.
Right. Yeah, I think your videos have come a long way. I mean, all your installs. I mean, like these are things that people want to do to, car enthusiasts want to do to their cars on a, just regular basis, but some may not know how to, or, instructions sometimes are hard to follow, So, you providing these videos has just been a life changing. I use them. So um and actually it's funny. My oldest brother had a 1996 Eagle Talon with a Gretty exhaust, and it was loud as hell. And that was like the gateway for me. He eventually got a WRX, and that was my gateway into Subarus. Um, yeah. So, what made you switch from a WRX to a BRZ, or like how did you follow like the development of the BRZ, or sorry, FRS 86 world? Did you like follow the development of that car like I did, like 4 years with like the first prototype was shown?
So yes, the when I went to SEMA, I forget what year it was, and I saw that concept car. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
looks amazing. And it really was FT86 Speed Factory, and that job opportunity that had such an impact on me, and
Mhm.
why I wanted that car. And like I said, it goes back to Yo. He had this car. It's the first car that I like legit autocrossed in, besides my
Mhm.
WRX. And the WRX wagon was not the best performance car out there to go and take
Uh,
to an autocross. It was fun. It was great in the winter, but I'm a very competitive person, and I wanted to go faster. And the 86 platform is just a fantastic platform for anybody to jump in and get started. And that's why I love it so much. It's not a super expensive car, so there's anybody can get their hands on it. The aftermarket support for the car is fantastic. Um, but working for FT86 Speed Factory definitely did have a big play in that, because
yeah.
I had learned all of this stuff about the car. I knew how to work on it. I knew what modifications
Mhm.
to stay away from, what worked, what didn't. So that's what really led me to that decision. The WRX, as much as I loved working on it, the problems with that arised with that car kind of pushed me away from that platform. I do want to
Mhm.
eventually pick up a WRX to do a build on. Probably not a
Mhm.
track build, but I do love the WRX and the SDI, that platform. I mean, that's what I helped build at Subi Speed, so it has a
Mhm.
special place in my heart. Um, and now with the new 22 WRX out, I know a lot of people aren't fond of how it looks, but I think the
Mhm.
performance aspect is there. So even though looks are something that are completely subjective,
Yeah, people are
and
gonna love
and I'm
it within the next year.
yeah, people always, I feel like people always hate on any new Subaru anyway.
Right,
So
absolutely.
every new chassis that comes out, they hate on it, and then it grows on people, and then
Yep.
it's like it never happened. It's the same thing over and over again.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's just a repetitive cycle.
Yeah, yep.
And we're at the stage right now where it's like, actually, the 2.4 motor is
Yeah.
pretty awesome. And like
Yeah,
after that becomes like, okay, I'm gonna, yeah,
Yeah.
it's,
The looks are fine. I can get over the looks. The
Yeah.
performance is great.
yeah,
Right.
because the looks are something you can change.
Right. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So you've got a first gen and a second gen 86. Not many people do. One's a track car, one's a daily driver street car. For those of us, and to be clear, I'm like just talking about myself, that have a first gen and are trying to decide between selling the first gen while the market is stupid hot and getting a second gen versus keeping the first gen forever and modding it. What are like, tell me why I shouldn't do that.
That is a good question because, oh man, when I jumped into the second gen and drove it for the first time, I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I wish I could have
Yeah.
started on this platform. So it is
Right.
it is
Yep.
hard. It is hard to justify not doing that, but the first gen, again, the it's I think it's that price gap, right? Even though the market right now is super crazy, it's a lot easier to get a first gen. Um,
Mhm.
there's just way more of them, and now with like the shortages on stuff, the market adjustments and stuff is stupid.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing I love about the first gen is it's like a hot boy racer car to me, where the second gen is more mature and like has that
More
Porsche-esque look to
classy.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what drew me in, right? I was young and dumb and wanted to get into something that was like really cool and made me feel like I was a race car driver. Um, and it's so easy to just get in and drive. And I mean, I picked mine up for it's a salvage title. I picked it up for
Mm.
$6,000.
Oh
Um,
wow.
that's never gonna find that deal again nowadays.
Yeah.
But it was a
No.
hell of a deal at the time. Um, and
Was it a
so
full
that
running car
engine,
too at the time?
what was that?
Fully running at the time too. Just had a
Yeah,
salvage
so
title. Like,
no issues. So it was a flood. It was a flooded
Okay.
car,
Mhm.
but the owner had swapped the engine out, and he had been daily driving it for about a year or so. So I figured if there were any electric
Yeah.
issues, they would have arrived
Mhm.
by now, so it should be
Yeah.
okay. So it was a car down in Houston, so I flew down, uh, picked it up, and drove home, and it's been taking the beating ever since. No issues whatsoever. So I got a hell of a deal there.
Mhm. That's
um,
awesome.
Also, there's just so even though most of the parts on the first gen fit on the second gen, there's just such a plethora of cars out there that get wrecked because of the hot boy thing again. A lot of guys go out there and think they're professional drift car drivers, and they go and put it into a tree or doing something stupid. There's You need a transmission. You can find one for like $300. Like instead of
Mhm.
having to build a transmission, you just pop a used one in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the parts, the aftermarket support, the community, um, that's a huge thing as well. Is the community
Mhm.
that I've been able to experience throughout those years is huge. Everyone is there to help. Um, it feels like a big old family, so I love that about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a part of me, there will always be a part of me that leans toward the first gen because of the looks and because I'll have that kid inside of me where I've grown up now and I love the GR86 because it is a bit more mature. I don't get as much unwanted attention, even though my car is ridiculously loud now. I need to fix that. um, but when I get in the FRS, I just feel like back in I'm that professional race car driver again. I can go out and just turn the laps. And then when I get
Mhm.
in my GR86, it's like this is a fun car that I can take out on the weekends and just have a blast with. But that FRS, getting in the FRS is just a different feeling to me. But there have been improvements, obviously, with the second gen that make it a great car to start with as well.
Yeah. So talk to us about your transition into time attack. You got the first gen. That's you're doing what a lot of people, grassroots guys, enthusiasts want to do. They start buy a car, start minding it, go to track days, and like, well, damn, I can do more about this with the car. And so,
Yeah,
how was your transition like getting into time attack?
I get that question a lot. Like, how do I start tracking my car, or what
Mhm.
do I need to do to my car to start tracking it? And I love hearing that because that's also why I make my videos, is to get people out to the track and be able to
Mhm.
enjoy their cars um, the way they aren't able to on the street. Uh, I
Mhm.
started out in my WX. So I did my first track day at a local track here, 2 hours away in Omaha, Raceway Park of the Midlands. They do a thing called Fast
Mhm.
Fridays where it's like 50 or $100, and you get
That's
uh,
awesome. Yeah.
4 to 6 sessions, or actually maybe even the whole day.
Jeez.
But I went out there with the JB Auto crew, and it was my first
Mhm.
track day ever. Of course, it rained, and so I was out there, and I had my first spin out, and but everything that track has like nothing to hit, so it was super safe track, a great track to learn on. But before all that, I had a couple years of autocross. That's really what I
Mhm.
always recommend to people. Go take your car out to an autocross. It's cheap.
Yep.
Um, there are a ton of people out there that are willing to help you,
Mhm.
and it's just a day out of your week. Um, so go out there. I don't know what an autocross costs now, but at the time, I think I was paying like $40 to $60 for an autocross, and it's not
Right. Right.
hard on the
Mhm.
car. And you just go out there and have the time of your life. You'll hit some cones, and that's how you know you're trying hard enough. But yeah, I took the WX out to autocrosses. I had Yo coach me,
Mhm.
and he had all those tips: walk the track until you
Yeah.
know it on the back of your hand, all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. And so I did that for a while, and I kind of got the itch, and that's when I did that track day. And then I was like, wow, I don't know if I can go back to doing
Yeah.
autocross.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yep.
Because as much as
Well,
autocross is that gateway drug,
Yeah.
and
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
it's fun, but man, I got to be honest. You go out there the whole day and you get a couple runs. It's a couple minutes of
Mhm.
actually driving, but the
Yeah.
community
Mhm.
is awesome. It's cheap, and it's a good time, and it's a great way to learn car control. And
Mhm.
so
Yep.
when I made that transition to doing um, track days. So I had that first track day at RPM, and then I
Mhm.
went out to VIR, Virginia International Raceway, to film for work. And one of the
Mhm.
perks was they also let me do a beginner track day, and
Hmm.
I did it in Yo's FRS. And it was funny because the FRS was completely gutted. It was basically a full track car, cage
Mhm.
inside, and I was a beginner in this fully decked out FRS, and all these other cars were like stock cars that weren't modified. Um, but I remember I had an instructor that had, I think he had a GT3, um, and we went out, and I had had some experience, so I was like crushing it, and like passing all
Mhm.
these cars. And he was like, "Wow, is this your first time doing this?" And I was like, "No, I've had a couple, or one track day before." And he was like, "You should look into doing this more. You're
Yeah.
pretty good at this." Um, and that was a blast. I haven't been back to VIR ever since because it's so far away, but I'll
Yeah.
always remember that. And it really just progressed from there. I did more and more HPDs, worked my way
Mhm.
from beginner to intermediate to advanced, and had a bunch of different cars along the way as well. Um, but it it really just snowballed. And like I said, I'm a super competitive person, so when I got into this, I was like, okay, I got to pit myself up against everybody else. So
Mhm.
they don't want you to do this, obviously, in HPT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're
it's hard
timing
not
yourself.
to.
You're timing
Right.
yourself, and you're like, how am I? Because if you don't, how do you know if you're getting better? So
Exactly.
it's what people do, and so I was like, okay, I got to a certain point where I was like, I think I can start actually competing. I'm comfortable in the car. Um, the car is set up well, uh, and so I did most of my track days with the Grid Life series. Great series.
Mhm.
Absolutely love the community there. They are some of the best uh, car enthusiasts out there, and they're super helpful. And the festivals that they host are what really drove me to continue to come back, because it's a different vibe with the events that they host. It's I don't know how to compare it, because when I go to just a SCCA or a NASA event, it feels different. Um,
Like a
everyone's
little more
there.
serious than
Yeah, a little bit more serious,
yeah.
and I think Grid Life has catered to the younger crowd.
Mhm.
And so that's what drove me there. And then I did their Time Attack series, and the camaraderie between the competitors is fantastic. Everyone's there, even though we all give each other shit. We're all friends, and
Yeah.
everyone knows each other, and we're all trying to help each other out to get faster.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of my progression through uh, just starting out from autocross to go into time attack. And I would recommend people follow in my footsteps and go through that same process, because I think that's a great way to progress to uh, this level of driving.
Yeah. So I mean, specifically with like the BRZ 86 crowd, it seems like there's like a camaraderie within that group at Grid Life, which is really cool to see. I mean, even the K swap guys too.
Yeah.
They all like everyone gets along. I mean, I don't know if everyone gets along, but like there's a crew there, which is kind of cool. And it's still competitive. I mean, people are fast and they're going to compete. Um, but yeah, so what are your with your track car, um, can we expect any like major changes to the car this year? You're gonna, I know you're gonna hit up some events. Uh, yeah, I don't know what you got planned for that car.
Yeah, so it's up on some jacks right now. I had just deleted the AC.
Right.
To
Yep.
save a few pounds, just because I can. It was like 15 pounds for at least what's in the engine bay. I plan on tearing the interior out as well. Um, it's weird because a lot of the competitors in my class, Club TR, they have fully gutted interiors, and the rules are kind of vague on that. And I mean, I'm competing against these cars with K swabs and fully gutted, and they weigh nothing. And I
Yeah, right.
still last year I still had like my full interior. I had with a roll bar in there. So this year I was like, you know what? Everyone else is tearing it out. I'm gonna tear it out as well. Uh, if it's okay for them to do, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna tear out the rest of the interior, tear out like the blower motor and some of the stuff behind the dash to save as much weight as I can. Um, what else? I just installed some SPL arms on there. Pretty much everything besides I think their traction arm in the rear, which I may do on later on the road. And then I've got a new set of suspension to throw on there um, as well. And then right now I'm running 245s, RT 660s. And the max is 255. So I was kind of at a disadvantage there. So I picked
Yeah.
up some 255s. I'll probably have to roll my fenders a little bit
Oh
to
yeah.
get there. So that's another thing. I still have my stock passenger seat. So I might just either take that out or replace it with a bucket seat to shed some weight there as well. But nothing huge as far as modifications for that car. It's pretty well set up. Um, I'm going to need to dial it in now that I've changed a lot of the suspension aspects
Yeah.
to it. Um, as far as events go, I don't think I'm going to be able to do as many events as I did last year, because
Mhm.
I'm trying to focus a little bit more on YouTube.
Mhm.
And I also want to go to car meets again, and set up a
Cool.
booth and just interact with that community as well, because it's a completely separate community most of the
Right,
time.
right. Yeah.
The track
Yep.
people and
Mhm.
the car meet people. So
Mhm.
um, I I think I'm gonna try and do at least 3 Grid Life events. I haven't decided which ones yet. Gingerman will probably be one. I'm a big fan of Mid Ohio, so that might also be on the list. And then
Mhm.
they have Heartland on their schedule, but I've never been there. I'm not sure. A lot of people love that track, so I might give that a go as well. Um, Grid
Mhm.
Life is branching out to the coast, and I wish I could go to like Laguna Seca this year because they have
Yeah.
an event out
Yeah.
there, but it's just too far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I was gonna say for meets, you should come to Boxer Fest.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's a little
far.
far too. Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about YouTube a little bit. It's like the YouTube car scene is so weird to me. It's got it's got a little bit of everything, and I like your channel a lot because like you have, I mean, it's genuine. Like you can tell you're like actually into this, and um, it's not just like unboxing videos for grown-ups and like um, but like what do you make of like the current car YouTube scene? Like we talked a little bit about like the Donut Media WRX disaster. I don't know if you follow that at all. And
No, I
those
didn't.
guys are like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and those guys are like super talented on camera. They're legitimately funny, incredible production value, but good lord, are they terrible with cars? um, but like, I don't know. There's a lot of channels that are like incredibly popular and good and like quality stuff, and a lot of channels that are incredibly popular. And it's just like, how do people watch this? Like, where do you want to take your channel? And um, yeah, like what do you think of that whole world?
It it is crazy. It is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy, the amount of content that you can digest on YouTube or any of the social media platforms these days, like TikTok,
Mhm.
Instagram, Facebook. And there's so many people I can't keep track, just in one small industry. But there are a few people that have come along the way that I've made friends with, or that I've just paid attention to, that I think do an amazing job, and are ambassadors for uh, being a car enthusiast. Um, One person that comes to mind is Dustin Williams. I remember
Mhm.
meeting him uh, 6, 7 years ago in NOLA at an event. And at the time, he was a huge fan of me. I didn't know who he was. And he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, you're Kevin from Subi Speed. Like, can I take a picture with you? Can we take a
Oh
picture of our
yeah.
cars together?" So I remember his WRX back then. It had some NTO3s on there, and a
Yeah.
big wing, and
Mhm.
it didn't look anywhere near like it did now with a wide body kit and stuff. But uh, at the time, he probably had like 2,000 subscribers, and now he's at like 700,000,
Huge.
and
Yeah, huge.
absolutely blew up. And he does a wonderful job with it. And I think he's a genuine person that enjoys this for what it is, and
Mhm.
he isn't just doing it for the views and such. Although obviously it's his job now.
Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
Larry Chen is also a person that I've
Oh,
followed, of course.
Love Larry Chan. Yep.
Yeah, and he did his GR86 build for SEMA, and I saw
yeah.
that, and
Yep.
that was crazy. Pretty much every single part that you can get for the car was thrown on there.
Yeah.
Um, but my
Mhm.
vision for myself is to continue to provide the knowledge. Some people, they lean towards just vlogs where they're
Mhm.
basically sharing their process. But I want to
Right. Mhm.
continue to be able to help people do what I'm able to do. And it might not always just be install videos, because I'm going to run out of stuff to install, but it's going to be, guides as to, hey, which which tires are going to be best for you, which suspension, like for this
Mhm.
budget, or is this particular part the right fit, or is it worth it? So that type of um, content where you feel like you're getting something back from it. You're not just watching for the entertainment value, although that's what I want to provide as well. I think that's a very important part of it because, I mean, if you're watching a video and you're not entertained, you're going to stop watching it.
Yeah.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so I want to be able
Do
to
you
provide both.
yeah. Do you think you'd ever add like a co-host or a crew to your channel? That's not on your radar right now.
Haven't gotten that far yet. I have not
You're
gotten
not
that far
hiring
yet.
5 people.
Yeah, right now it's a one-man show. I'm trying to do 2 videos a week, one where it's very much car related and another one where it's a little bit more relaxed, where I can just talk to the subscribers and viewers. And that's already a handful, so I can't imagine doing any more than
Yeah,
that.
that's a lot.
Um, but I don't know. Maybe a couple years down the road, I can make something even more of this. Like, I love how Donut Media has been able to incorporate their group of friends into this
Yeah.
huge
Yeah. Yeah.
business and be able to
Mhm.
take along everybody with them. So if I could do that, that would be a dream come true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're running towards the end here, but I want to, obviously, new STI never happened. Going back to Subaru community here. What are your thoughts on electric movement, and what would you like to foresee the next STI to be? Because people are saying it's not going to happen. We know, they're going to bring out a car eventually, sooner or later, right? We just don't know whether it's going to be a hybrid, full electric, or how they're going to get that MPGs out of STI.
Yeah. Like 10 years from now, where it's like the aftermarket and like the car community, when because we're in a process of like transition now, and it's going to look different in 10 years, and curious to see what your thoughts are on how like the community transitions with that.
That that is a really good question. And I've thought about it a little bit. I haven't thought about it too much because right now I'm just like, let's just enjoy it for what we have now. And if it
Yeah.
changes, it changes. It's definitely going
Mhm.
to change. And I think it's going to be a little bit crazy.
Mhm.
Like the E series for Formula One, or the Formula
Yeah.
series with the electric cars, is crazy. Just watching the cars go by and you don't hear anything.
Right,
um,
right.
but I would I don't hate it. I don't like seeing Teslas out on the track is cool to me. Like being
Mhm.
able to see them, what they're capable of, uh, kind of leads me to believe that it is going to be the future of motorsports. That's what we're going to have to go to.
Mhm.
And I know a lot of people aren't going to be okay with that. They love their exhaust noises and you
Loud
know,
V8s and turbo noises
yeah,
and
exactly. But the performance aspect of it is there. And I think a hybrid STI, if they're able to mesh that in there to utilize the best of both worlds, would be awesome. Um, and
Mhm.
I think it'll be a great step towards the right direction, to show people what it's capable of. I mean, it's already being done with other cars, so we know the
Yeah.
performance is there. But if Subaru is able to do that and really revive the STI again and make a performance hybrid car for the enthusiast, cater to the enthusiast, I think it would be an
Mhm.
awesome uh, opportunity for them. And even just like the new WRX, even though people might hate it at first, I think people would
They're
jump
yeah,
on the
gonna,
they'll get over
bandwagon.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We are actually running out of time here. Thank you so much for joining us.
is there anything you want to plug? Your social, obviously your YouTube channel, social media.
Yeah, you can check me out on YouTube or Instagram. Just look up Kevin VO, super easy. So I'll
Driven
be
Media, hit that like
yeah,
button.
Driven Media as well for
Yeah.
any overlays. I'll be adding more overlays, just not for the GR86 and BRZ. So I'll probably add some WRX and STI stuff as well. And then I've got my merch. So might need to send you guys some t-shirts.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you make overlays for first gen,
that's on my list. It's on my list.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Again, we appreciate your time, Kevin. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to what you come out for the rest of this year, and we'd love to have you on again later on.
Yeah,
just to catch up, follow up, and
talk suspension, talk chassis setup and stuff like that. I'd be happy to do that.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully we'll see you out at some of these events this year.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys as well. I am working on a project that I can't talk about just yet, but it's something that I'm super excited about, and I think we'll be in talks soon as well.
Did you buy the old FT86 Speed Factory Time Attack car?
Oh man, I got to talk to Jeremy about that.
Yeah, fair. Well, we appreciate your time, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.